Hello, everyone. My name is Akal, and I am a somatic therapist. If you'd like to find out a little bit about the work I do, you can check out my website, which I have posted down below this video. So, what I want to kind of talk about today is mainly I looked this up out of my own curiosity, but I actually had somebody bring this up recently to me, which is this idea of the divine masculine. A lot of times in like spiritual circles, woo woo circles, whatever, you spend a lot of time talking about the divine feminine. And, this is not like a video about gender differences, by the way, it's just so you know in advance. What this is really about, it's about understanding the polarities that underlie everything in existence. So I felt like the divine masculine needed more clarification. Largely because as I feel, a lot of the times my work as a practitioner is always more effective if I'm in the sort of divine masculine kind of mode. And this will make more sense as I go along and kind of explain what this energy is, what this dynamic is. So, we'll talk about stereotypes first. So, stereotypes. What is masculine? What is feminine? As a stereotype. And now I'm kind of talking about gender a little bit. So the stereotypes here are that, masculine energy is inherently more aggressive, it's driven, it's proactive, quote unquote positive. I don't mean positive good, I simply mean positive, proactive, driven. It has a target, a goal, and is going that way. So that would be kind of stereotypical masculine energy. You can look at the genitalia. Look at a man's penis. It points. It's directed outward. So the energy naturally kind of goes that way. So meaning men have a bias or a bit more masculine or divine masculine energy than, say, women. Whereas women have a bit more feminine or divine feminine energy. Now, what is female? So female, I guess what the stereotypes would be, more sensitive, more feeling, more connected to one's emotions. Again, we're using words around receptivity. And these stereotypes of what male is and what female is are very much connected to these ideas of divine masculine and divine feminine. Because the divine masculine is, as I define it, would be sort of purified or authentic action. And what I mean by that is non-egoic action, meaning spirit is flowing through you, energy is flowing through you, your personality is objective with it and can make a choice to, do this or do that. So I would say that the divine masculine, as I'm defining it within this context, is authentic, proactive action. It's essentially the energy which underlies all creation, which is the activity aspect of creation. It is the action-oriented part of what it is to be in existence. So the divine feminine, on the other hand, would be the sort of receptive aspect of what it is to be alive and to be part of existence. So the non-action aspect. And again, these exist in everything. So here's the interesting thing. A lot of my work, like I said, it's done through this process of the idea is to purify the divine masculine, meaning, and this is in my opinion, the interesting irony of this, all this is that the divine masculine requires the divine feminine in order to purify. And what I mean by that is meditation. So it's through meditation, which I would consider the practice of connecting to the divine feminine, through that sort of total surrender, through that total receptivity to spirit, energy, whatever you want to call it, that's flowing through you, that's ultimately directing our actions and behaviors on this planet. So the more we are present with our deep subconscious vibrations, we are present with our emotions, the more we are present with all the various things that rise to the surface. And when I mean present, it doesn't mean engaged. It doesn't mean identified with. It simply means energy is floating to the surface, is coming to the surface, and you are neutral or objective to it. Because again, the objectivity, the neutrality allows the individual to make a choice. So again, this all requires the divine feminine. So let me go ahead and summarize from this particular angle. So in summary, I believe that the masculine energy, of which men have a bias of, that energy is purified through surrender, the divine feminine, and it's through this surrender that the divine masculine can then be expressed. But it's guided by intuition. It's guided by deeper instincts. It's guided from the depths. And then we choose the actions to take. So I'm sure there's actually, this whole explanation is a little more complex than this. But the reality is that's essentially what everything boils down to, at least in the aspect of creation that we exist in, which is this duality, this divine feminine, divine masculine, this action and receptivity, or you could say action and passive, however you want to kind of look at it. So now what's interesting about this is I tend to think about sex in a lot of ways as being kind of the opportunity to move closer to these dynamics in a sort of bonded way. So in Tantra, if we're talking about the sort of using sex as a technique within Tantra, we're attempting to mimic, in a lot of ways, well, I guess we're attempting to mimic the creator, mimic creation in general through the merger with your partner, with your sexual partner. It's like the divine feminine energies mixed with the divine masculine, and all of a sudden you get this union concept, of which yoga means yoke. You know, all these spiritual systems essentially mean to bring something into union. So the sexual act between human beings is very much a symbol, or you could even say a pathway to having these divine realizations. However, the thing that's happened is that our sexual energy in a lot of ways is hijacked. And I don't mean this in a conspiratorial negative kind of way. It is sort of nature that our energies get hijacked. And what I mean by that is the biological urge in the man's case to ejaculate. Once a man ejaculates, it's over, done. So meaning his ego identified with a biological urge to release, and he released. Now there's always an energy depletion here. There's no way around it. I'm not saying the ejaculation is a bad thing. I'm simply saying it always is depleting on some level. So now what would be the divine masculine expression of this? Well, the divine masculine expression of this would be to, instead of ejaculating, to recognize when the urge rises and then relax. Don't go for it. Relax, relax, relax. And ironically, when let's say it's a partnership between a heterosexual couple, then so what the man needs to do is he needs to maintain his relaxation and focus his energy in an authentic, intuitive, guided way to bringing her pleasure. She needs to let go of tension. She needs to relax and allow the energy that is so abundant in her to simply flow through. So she needs to go into her divine feminine. He goes into his divine masculine, his total present action, his totally, I guess, intuitive, guided action on how to bring her pleasure, how to aid in her deeper relaxation. And this is, in a lot of ways, the essence of Tantra. Bring her into a deep, deep, deep space so that the orgasm for her is no longer a concern, and it's something that simply happens. In this way, you take the ego out of the equation. Then her surrender isn't simply feminine, it's divine feminine. She's going deeper and deeper and deeper, and she's in an objective, feeling, sensing space where the energy is simply flowing through, and then she becomes orgasmic as opposed to having orgasms. And it's very much the same for the male, except it's slightly different. Like, he has to relax so he doesn't have orgasms. So again, his actions, and efforts are meant to be present and again, directed and focused. So again, very divine masculine, and paying attention again to his deeper guidance. And so with all that said, hopefully you have a little more clarity on what I mean by divine masculine and how it differs from simply masculine energy. So one of the things before I conclude this video that I want to kind of cover real quick is, now what's really interesting is you can kind of observe this. I've observed this, in the past with my sexual partners as well, which is the more excited that she gets, in this case, we'll say my sexual partners, I'll use my own situations as an example. The more excited she would get, it was really fascinating because it wasn't like I was in some sort of mental headspace or I was like overly fixating on something. I wasn't trying to drive my energy towards release or ejaculation. But what I always found is that the more that she would get excited, the more that it was almost like she was pressurizing my own system. And she would get all excited, and then like the arousal became contagious. And this is like one of the most beautiful things if you can kind of, again, you can relax into it and observe it. And if she can then let go into her, relaxation. So again, the idea here, at least from a tantric perspective, is that both parties are going into a deep state of relaxation. And again, it becomes this very cyclical thing. And the other thing is that the more present a man is, the more, in the flow that he is, the more that his actions and efforts are in the flow and authentic, then his divine masculine energy, we'll say his sexual energy, is directed in a very powerful, pure, clear way. So with all that said, I appreciate you watching this video. Thank you.